You're listening to episode number 71 of the AlaREIA Masterclass Podcast. What's going on, everybody? It's Brian Trippe. I'm here in beautiful Birmingham, Alabama. So glad you decided to join us today for another episode of the Masterclass Podcast. I'm a big believer in getting a lot of local guests, local to Birmingham, local to the state of Alabama on the show. Every once in a while, though, we get some great guests nationally to try to provide us with a little bit of perspective, some stuff that's going on the national stage, maybe try to tie that into Birmingham as well. And today I have via Skype, Mr. David Dodge. How are you doing, David?
Hey, Brian, I'm doing good, buddy. Thanks for having me, man. I appreciate you.
Yeah, man, I'm really excited to talk to you. I think you got a great story I want to get into. You're in St. Louis, Missouri. For the people that don't know who you are, kind of give us just a little bit of background.
Yeah, no problem. So David Dodge, my name, you got that. I've been investing in real estate for about, it's probably going on 11 years, maybe as long as 12. I always say 10, but that's probably 2 years old. So been investing in real estate for about 12 years. I've only been an active, I should say, full-time investor for about the last 3 years. I did it very, very part-time for, the first 9-10 years of it. Basically, I was buying rental properties. I started buying rental properties when I was a junior in college, and I've picked up basically one or two a year since then. And it was really just a means for me to park my cash so I wouldn't spend it. Because we all know how it is whenever you got 20 or 30 grand in your checking account. You want to go on vacation. You want to spend it. So it'd be a way for me to go, park that cash to kind of get it out of my reach and provide me with some passive income as well as some very slow wealth creation. The downside to the first 9-10 years of my experiences were I was buying properties off the MLS. I was paying full retail for them. I was leveraging, lending and getting, 80% loans from the bank, putting down 20%, sometimes 25%. But still, I was paying retail, so I wasn't getting really any value add other than just paying it down, of course, some depreciation on my taxes and small amounts of cash flow. About 2.5, 3 years ago, give or take, my time frames aren't exact, as you can tell here, but about 2.5, 3 years ago, I started wholesaling. And it took me probably about 2 months to do my first deal, and I made $12,000 on it. And ever since then, I have not paid retail for a property. And now I am wholesaling anywhere between 8 and 12 deals a month. Some on a good month, maybe as many as 15. Me and my team. I do have a nice team of people that we all work together well here in St. Louis. But we are active wholesalers. We do a little bit of rental that we pick up, maybe 2 or 3 a month. And we do some rehabs as well. We got about 6 rehabs going right now. But half of those rehabs are actually rentals. So it's the burst strategy. We buy them. In order for the bank to, give us all of our money back, we have to show what they call entrepreneurial credits, which basically means that you improve the value of the property. It's kind of weird that banks don't really do that with turnkeys. Most banks don't. But if you can buy it and add a little value to it, they're more than happy to give you, that 80%, 75% money back on that appraisal. Yeah. So each bank's a little differently, but we do a lot of that as well too. So real estate investing is my passion at this point. Yeah. It has provided me with financial freedom. And any way that I can help provide value to any of your listeners or viewers, I'd be more than happy to do so. So, I love it.
Thank you, David. I appreciate that. And you've said a lot of interesting things that I definitely want to touch on. And one, sure. I think I want to spend the majority of the time talking about how you've been able to build out your team and what that exactly looks like to where you could possibly do 8 to 12, 15, maybe even wholesale deals a month. But before we get to that, I want to ask you about something you said. You sound way too, what's the word? Patient, not patient. You're way too diligent with your money when you're in college. Because I was in college, and I got those big fat student loan checks, and I got all the Pell Grants, and I got all this stuff coming in, and I was blowing it. And you're investing in real estate.
Yeah. So, I just to touch on that real quick, I went to a seminar 2 days ago from another guy here in town that's he's a big shot. He does a lot of deals.
You want to divulge his name?
I'd rather not. He's a good friend of mine, but I don't want to call him out because it's nothing I'm gonna say is bad by any means. But for the most part, he said, what do you do whenever you start to create wealth? And he showed what the typical person does, and they spend it, they go on vacation. And then what does a smart person do? They pay down debt, and then they invest. And once you get to a point where you pay down debt and you start investing, the next step will be to create generational wealth. Mm-hmm. Okay. And I was fortunate enough to have a grandfather who invested $10,000 at birth for me and 8 of my cousins. And he basically was able to invest that $10,000 each, which is quite a bit of money. But it was enough money to, over the course of our, first 18 years of life, to be able to pay for all of our colleges and secondary schools. So I chose not to go to a secondary school, and I actually got some of that money back. But a lot of my cousins did go on to be lawyers and professionals with those degrees. So, from the very get-go, I was ingrained into investing for the long term and creating, what I like to call generational wealth. So for me, it was just always there. My whole family's always been in investor mindsets, and it's pretty amazing that I had that type of guidance
at
a young age. So that's kind of how I did it, and I didn't have any crazy paying jobs, but I've always been good at saving. And you don't need a ton of money to buy a property if you can leverage it 80% with the bank anyway. I mean, some of the properties I maybe put down 10 or 15,000, and then got an 80% loan, and you don't need a ton. You can get properties for 60, 80 grand all over the place. So hopefully that answered your question.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, that's awesome that you had that, because I didn't have it. And as most of you guys know, I've got a book coming out here soon, and by the time you hear this, it's already out. But I talk about my story. Where I came from. And man, I'll tell you, if I had something like that, a grandfather that I don't even think it's about investing the money for you. That's awesome.
It's the mindset.
But it's the mindset. Talk about that for a second, David. Like what does it take from a mindset standpoint to do this business or to do any business?
Well, it's one of those things where the mindset, it changes very quickly once you start seeing your money make you money. And obviously, I would imagine that everyone's read Rich Dad Poor Dad that's listening or reading or watching this. If you haven't, go out and read it. One of the best books, in my opinion, ever written on the topics of business, real estate, and investing, all three. But the craziest thing about money is that you pay taxes on it, and your true rate of taxation, and I'm probably not wording that correctly, is almost 50%. So people will argue with me all the time. Oh, that's crazy, Dave. I only pay 32% on my taxes. Well, that's fine. You pay that when you earn it, but then you pay taxes on everything you own. You pay taxes on everything you buy. You pay taxes when you die. You pay taxes when you buy gas, cigarettes, alcohol, anything. And at the end of the day, when you add up all those taxes from money coming in and money going out, it's almost 50%. And real estate, on the other hand, or passive income, which is what you can get from real estate, is taxed at the lowest rate of all these different buckets the IRS taxes you on. So the name of the game of becoming wealthy isn't necessarily always making more money. It's saving more money. So you could actually make less money than you do today, tomorrow. But if you are making it in ways that is taxed less, you're going to be able to create a net worth and or a value that is going to be higher than before. Me and my buddies always joke, people that don't know about taxes, they have net worthlessness.
Right.
They're basically their net worth is worthless because it's either negative or zero.
It's negative, yeah. That's what mine was.
Hopefully I didn't get off on too much of a tangent. But just due to the fact that once your money starts making you money, it can truly create you freedom. But on top of that, most people don't realize is the bigger benefit of it isn't that it's passive. It's that you give away less of it. So it allows you to kind of snowball. And you just mentioned on earlier when we were off the scenes here that you had 80 rentals, and people ask me all the time, I don't have 80, I got about 25, but they say, how do you get started? And it's the simplest answer, go buy one.
Totally.
You're not going to buy your 81st property before you have 80 of them. You got to go get one, and then you get the second one, you get the third one. And then once you get to a point where you have a little bit of cash flow on each property, it snowballs.
Totally.
And now I can go buy 3 of them in 1 month if I needed to or wanted to, but I could have never done that from the get-go. So hopefully that kind of brings a little bit of value to your audience.
No, totally. It starts with one. Go get one. Go do it this way, and just do one.
Do one.
Stop. Absolutely. I mean, so I think most of real estate is taking action.
It is. Consistent, persistent action is the key to success in anything in life, not just real estate. Love it.
But you talked about mindset a second ago, David. I want to kind of harp on this because I think a lot of it has to do with that. A lot of it has to do with your mind. And I grew up where I didn't think I wanted to be rich. I don't want to be rich. I just want enough, or
right.
I just want enough to get by. kind of just a bad upbringing, a lot of unfortunate, crazy situations. Well, I just thought in my mind I would never be a certain thing.
Right.
My dad told me on the day of my high school graduation, a lot of people were gathered around at like maybe a grandparent's house, and they asked me, Brian, what are you going to do next? I'm like, well, I'm probably going to go to college. I'm not sure. I'd have to get a student loan and everything, but I'll probably go to college. And my dad looks at me right in my eyes and says, why? Why are you going to go to college? you barely graduated high school. Why are you going to college?
Why are you going to go spend all that money to go learn all these different topics, right?
But I'm just like, he didn't even like my own father didn't even have enough belief in me that I could even go to college or graduate. And so it's just like, that's the kind of culture I grew up in. That's the kind of mindset I grew up in, is like, well, you know what? I don't ever want to be rich. I don't even think I can be rich. I don't even want that. I just want enough. And I think a lot of people are like that, David.
I totally agree. And you know what? I'm gonna solidify that statement very simply, because I'm in the bank and so are you all the time, getting cashier's checks to buy properties, and sometimes they're small, sometimes they're large. And the bank tellers are my favorite people to talk to about wealth, because they don't get it. And you would think that they would, but they don't get it. And here's why. Whenever I go in and I get a large cashier's check, and sometimes they're like, whoa, that's a big check. I always ask them, I said, what would you rather have? Would you rather have $5 million in your bank account today, or would you rather have $30,000 a month for the rest of your life? And 99% of the time they say, I want $5 million. Well, that sucks, because you can spend that money if you don't invest it wisely and you're broke. But if you can get $30,000 a month deposited in your account every single month, you can never necessarily go broke, because you're always going to have that passive income coming in. So wealth and being rich isn't about a big number in your bank account. It's about having the resources of it constantly coming in. And most people just don't get it, man. But it's mindset. It goes back to what you said about mindset. Yeah. Is a lot of people don't believe that they have the ability to create true wealth. And it's really not that hard at all. You just have to be diligent and, responsible with your finances.
Totally.
So mindset. Right. I love it though. You have a great mindset. I try to teach, all my students and peers and partners that it's all about abundance. So earlier as well, off the record, we were talking about, competitors. And of course, you can define your competitors as competitors, but you can also look at them as strategic partners. And I know you do that very well, Brian, with your market. You teach people how to do the business, but then they bring you a deal and you split it with them. We do that all day with not just real estate, but anything in business. Yeah. So that's mindset awesome. is huge. Absolutely.
You reminded me of a story. Over my bank is like right across the street from my office, and I bank at Regions over here in Roebuck where my office is, and
sure.
And I pull in to about the first of the month, and I just did it today, and this is what kind of reminds me of it. About the first of the month, every month, I'll take because I don't get all the checks at once, but I get a lot of checks before the first.
80 rentals. You got 80 rent checks coming through.
So not all of them are. Some of them are direct deposit, but I had about 6 or 7 checks this morning where I just went through the teller. It's the same guy. His name's Henry. I don't know his last name, but it's the same guy. And he goes, "Hey, how's it going, Mr. Tripp?" Every single time. I go, "Hey, Henry, how are you?" And he goes, "Oh man!" And then almost every time, like clockwork, he asks me, "Man, I don't know how you do it every month."
Yeah,
it just cracks me up.
It at all. The tenants are doing it.
That's what I tell him. I'm like, "Hey, my office is right across the street. Why don't you come stop by one time? Maybe I'll teach you something."
Right. No, it's so true though, man. I mean, mindset is so huge in business in general, not even just real estate investing. But, my goal, people ask me all the time, what's your goal? And it does change, like you had said in our talk again before the show. But my goal was $10,000 a month in passive income, right. and I've reached that already.
Yep.
So now I've kind of doubled it. And at one point I wanted $100,000 a month, but I don't really want to work that hard. And, it's kind of funny because I'm sure Grant Cardone, or you're familiar with him, and I would imagine a lot of the listeners and viewers are familiar with him as well too. But Grant Cardone has a really, really awesome saying that, what could you do with $1 million or $2 million that you can't do with, $20,000 a month coming in every month? And there's really nothing you can do. Like, so what? You couldn't go buy that jet to charter on that vacation, but you know what? You could rent one. So you can still live the same lifestyle as the rich person that has that big chunk of change. But it just goes to show you that a lot of people's mindsets are just kind of skewed by the fact that they think they need a lot more than they do.
It's totally true. And then, I think a mutual guy that we know that's from St. Louis that we talked about earlier is Sean McCloskey, and he talks about that a lot.
Sean's a great guy, Life in Air.
Yeah, he came to AlaREIA back in August of last year, and just he asked one guy. He goes. Well, he asked the whole crowd, "How much money do you need per year to live?" And somebody said, everybody's like throwing out all these numbers, and one guy wanted to volunteer, and he goes, "I need $400,000 a year to live."
Oh my goodness!
So Sean goes, "What if you got 390?" And the guy goes, "I guess that'd be okay." And
that'd be okay.
The point Sean was trying to make is, you don't know.
You don't know.
You don't know how much 400,000. That sounds awesome, but you don't know how much you actually need. If 390 is just as good as 400, then what about? And then Sean kept going. What about 300? What about And he kept going, and he kept going. He's like, "Yeah, I think about around 125, I could be okay." Yeah,
400. Right. It's crazy. It's crazy.
It's nuts.
It's one thing that I do, and I preach, and I try to rub off on everybody possible. So I'm gonna just jump into this real quick while
go for it.
I have your audience. But on a monthly basis, I sit down and I go over my finances in great detail. So I actually have a personal financial statement in Google Docs, and I modify it in real time. I mean, if I'm going to lend somebody money, or I take on a loan, or I add a property, I go in and I add it in there. I don't wait till the end of the year to do it. I do it basically daily. But at the end of the month, I pull my credit card statements and I pull all my statements down. And I know what my expenses are a month. Like, basically, I could average it to $100. And it's consistent every month. Mm-hmm. And I ask my friends, what are their expenses? And they may come up with a list of 10 or 15 things. My list has got over 120 items on it. And the reason is because I budget everything that I would spend throughout the year on a monthly basis. So I actually budget monthly in January, February, March, April for Christmas presents. I don't say, oh, December is going to be an extra $3,000 in expenses. No, I'm going to put that over the course of the whole year for budgeting purposes. But it kind of goes to show you that when people say, oh, here's my expenses, and they name 10 or 15 big ticket items, they're not counting the money that they're spending on everyday necessities like toothpaste and gel for hair and all these little things that add up over time, and especially over long periods of time. So people don't really know what they spend. So it just kind of goes to show you that guy was, a perfect example of that.
Totally. I'm that guy. I'm not that detailed. I mean, I need to be. And this is a wake up call. I mean, I've had. You're the second person to say this to me in the last week. My budget is rough. I have a rough budget. I don't have, my budget's not detailed like that. But at least I have one. A lot of people don't even have one.
I would recommend to detail it out. I mean, I break it down so much to like valet. Like maybe I only valet when I go to nice dinner once a month, but that's going to cost me $15-$20.
Talk about.
So I put it on there. I mean, so on and so forth. So like that's why my list it's probably closer to 150, and it could be more. But it just goes to show you, where the money goes. Because, most people live check to check. And at the end of the month, they're like, man, I don't understand how I don't have any money left. I just paid my mortgage and my car payment. Well, that's fine. That's two expenses of 100 plus.
Right.
And that goes to show you how, where it all goes. So once you can get to that strike number where your passive income reaches that, you're financially free. And then from there, you can just focus on that wealth building.
That's right.
It's actually very easy.
That's huge.
And
so, David, you primarily wholesale now, though.
I do.
Is that so? My business plan is to take my wholesale revenue and take my flip revenue and go buy rentals. Is that something?
That's where we're at. Yeah, exactly. So we have a bunch of different businesses, as do you. So we have a wholesaling business. We have a flipping business, which mostly does wholesales. So we buy wholesale, we fix up, and then we list on the retail market.
Wholesale, real quick, for the people that don't know what it is.
Sure. Yeah, wholesale is just a mix between wholesale and retail. It's funny because everybody words it differently or spells it differently. But it's just basically a mix between wholesale and retail. Wholesale. So you buy a property off market at a wholesale price, and then you either list it as is or you can clean it up and fix it. But again, your exit is to go on the retail market. So you're listing it on the MLS with an agent and a broker.
So you don't need a buyer.
Higher paying, buyer.
You don't need
Not
a
always,
cash.
but most of the time.
You don't need a cash buyer in that situation that's only going to pay 70 or 80% maybe.
Exactly. You can sell it for 100 or 95 cents on the dollar. They go get a loan. So it takes a little bit more time, but your return on your investment is typically 2 to 3 times higher than a wholesale, if not more. Yeah. So wholetailing, which basically is, small flips. We also have a rental side of our business. We have a coaching side of our business. And then we have the brokerage. Now, we're not really in business to take on agents. We basically just have our brokerage to help sell our own properties. And then, of course, as you know, Brian, whenever you do a lot of marketing, you come across people that can't sell at a discount, but they still need help. So, of course, we'll list those properties. So it's kind of an ancillary benefit of doing marketing for wholesale deals by picking up listings, picking up buyers, picking up all types of added value. One thing I do want to mention to your students, again, I just want to provide value. So there's no catch here. I'm not asking for anything in return. But me and my business partner put together a free course on wholesaling. It's almost 3 hours of content, and it's completely free. It's at freewholesalecourse.com. So anybody that's interested in wholesaling or wanting to get into the business, Brian, you said it earlier, all the information's out there. It's all free. You can pay somebody for, you said it earlier that I hadn't heard it in those words. Yeah. You said it's about, say it again.
Yeah. So, the information is everywhere. And first of all, I appreciate it, David. I appreciate you giving our audience, place freewholesalecourse.com. We'll give you the link here at the end as well. Appreciate you providing that value. Sure. That's awesome. And I haven't even checked that out. So I'm definitely going to go check it out as well. But I'm just, stuff's everywhere, right? The information is everywhere. You can't, if you Google search how to wholesale real estate,
you have 1,200,000 million links. Yeah.
Totally. So anytime you get into a coaching program or a mentoring program, you're not buying information. That's silly.
You're not. And that's the beauty of it. You're not buying information. However, you are getting it organized. I think you used 2 words earlier. Yeah. Speed.
You're buying
and network. Is that what they were?
You're buying speed of implementation, and you're buying proximity. Proximity. Yeah. You're getting close to me or the mentor and that person's network. For me, if you were to ask me, do you want all the money in your bank account and all your rentals today and all your businesses set up how they are today, and then you can't do anything else, you just get that, or do you want your network?
Oh, I'd choose the network.
I want my network because I can duplicate what I already did over here. I know I can with my network. My network is the single most valuable thing I have, and
the most important resource is resourcefulness.
Totally.
Tony Robbins.
Totally. And if I didn't have my network, I could not continue to do real estate. I wouldn't have a buyer's list. I wouldn't know people like you. I wouldn't have a podcast. I wouldn't have a REIA meeting. I wouldn't have all these things that we're doing right now. They're all byproducts of networking. And that's what, we were talking about it earlier, where I'm giving away copies of this book to some who I consider to be some of the thought leaders in the real estate space throughout the country. And I don't know what that could do. I mean, I don't know if it's not
just going to open up doors for you. And if nothing happens from it, you're out maybe $100. So what?
It might open up 1 or 2 or 3 doors, but those are 1 or 2 or 3 doors that were closed to me before or I didn't know about before. So I would just encourage anyone listening today, start network, come to the groups. Even if you're not in Alabama, go to all the real estate groups wherever you are. If you're in St. Louis, listen to this. Go to all of them. I even tell people, I've got competitors, right? I've got competitors. I got people who are doing what I'm doing. I got people who have real estate groups here in Birmingham. Go to all of the real estate groups and meet as many people as you can find to help you on your journey as becoming a real estate investor. And David's one of them. And David just offered to let you, check out his free course, freewholesalecourse.com. Go check that out. So David, before we I really want to talk to you about building.
Yeah, absolutely. So earlier you had mentioned about the team, and I get off on little tangents and topics here, but hopefully I'm providing value along the way.
Well, before we get to that, David, I really want to I want you to take our listeners through the progression, because it all starts with you. It all starts with one person, and most of the people who are newer to real estate, they're solopreneurs, right? They're brand new, and it's only them. Maybe they take on a partner, and it's just me and my partner, and we don't really know what we're doing. How do you go from maybe doing a deal every once in a while, maybe a deal a month, maybe a deal every 2 months, to actually having, going from a hobby to a business? What's the first thing you would do if you're consistently doing maybe one deal every 2 or 3 months? What's the first thing you would do to start building?
Double or triple your marketing budget. Very simple. Very simple. So we have students all over the United States, and the ones that are successful, and what I mean by successful are doing deals and creating value for other people while making money at the same time. They know that they are in the marketing business, and real estate is their product. It's very, very, very simple. And so basically what I tell all the individuals that I'm teaching and coaching is, if you want to do more deals, then you need to do more marketing. And if that means that you need to put 20, 30, maybe 40% of your profits from your last deal into more marketing, then that's what you need to do. And the beauty of it is you start to build a funnel that can get very, very deep. So I've been in the business for almost 3 years full time. I've been investing for 12, but I've been a full-time wholesaler for 3 years. And every single person that I talk to is entered into my CRM. I use Podio. You can use any one you like. There's a million of them out there. But I put notes and tasks on every single contact. And there's people that I've talked to 2.5 years, almost going on 3 years now, ago, that weren't motivated. They didn't need to sell. They got a letter from me, and they just were like, they called in and said, take me off your list, or I'm not selling now. And I put them in a follow-up sequence. And it's to the point where it's snowballing now, because not only am I getting leads that come in from my mail that went out 2 weeks ago, but I'm getting people that I've spoke to 2.5 to 3 years ago calling me back saying, hey, times have changed. I'm getting divorced, or I inherited this house. Are you still interested in working with me? And that's how you can get your funnel built up to be able to do, 8, 10, 12, even as many as 15 wholesale deals in a month's time, because I'm not always chasing that next deal. I am, I'm watering the seeds that I planted years ago for the most part.
Totally.
So hopefully that answered the question, but
couldn't have said it better.
By being consistent, and you got to have a good CRM in place. If you don't have one, I recommend Podio because it's simple and it's free. You can upgrade to help automate your life and pay for, enterprise level stuff, which we do, but you don't need to. I mean, basically it's just a great place to keep notes and tasks on properties or sellers. And, we have virtual assistants that help us at this point. And
I'm going to get there.
Okay, sure.
No, I'm going to get there.
One of our team members, his whole job from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. all day, every day, is to follow up with people. Mm-hmm. And if you're not on a weekly or monthly follow-up, then you're on a quarterly or semi-annually, even annual follow-up. So we like to touch people all the time.
Yep.
And we're not annoying them. If they tell us to quit calling, then we will, or we'll just put them on a way, way longer follow-up with a letter or something along those lines. But we want to make sure that they know that we're here to help them when they're ready.
Totally.
We don't want to be annoying or anything like that, but we are here to help them. And when the time comes, they reach back out to us. And it goes to show you it's proven, because, we're doing maybe 1 or 2 deals a month right now, that our initial contact with that seller was over 2 years ago. Totally. And it just starts to snowball.
Yep.
So hopefully that answered your question.
So the two things I heard you say, to recap, that I feel like might be the 2 most important things in all of real estate, if not wholesaling specifically, is consistency with marketing.
Yep.
Be consistent with it, because like you said, it's a big snowball. The marketing you're doing today is fine, and that's going to get you some deals, but it's the marketing that you did last month and the month before and the month before that they start coming back. But that leads me to number 2. The second thing you said that I feel like is the second most important thing, or maybe 1A, is follow-up.
Yeah, follow-up is so big, and not even just real estate investing, just in business in general, because, people like to do business with people that they're familiar with. And you don't have to necessarily make a friend or build crazy amounts of rapport. But if somebody has gotten 5 or 6 or 7 letters from me, and then they call me, and then I call them every month to just say, hey, Brian, for example, you may not need to sell today, but I just wanted to let you know that I'm still in the business. So when you're ready, give me a call. And just constantly touching that person. Whenever they're ready to sell, they're not going to go on Google and type in sell house fast, Birmingham, Alabama. They're going to call me or look up that old email that I sent them from 8 months ago and respond to that.
Totally.
So yeah, follow-up is so important. It's so important to the fact that we have a full-time person that does nothing but it.
So, but you didn't get there overnight.
No, not at all. I mean, it took 3 years.
So take me through the progression of what was next. I asked you what's the first thing you should do if maybe you're doing one deal every couple months, is dump more money into marketing, get that marketing engine really going, be consistent with that. So what's
I hired a coach. I do coaching now, and I have a coach. So one of the things that I'm really big on is constantly learning, constantly improving my skill set. And I never hire a coach that doesn't have a coach. That's just kind of my rule. Because if you hire a coach that doesn't have a coach, then they kind of have the mindset that, that it's their way or the highway. They're not open to new ideas as often. That's just me. But when I first started, I was about $60,000 in credit card debt. I had some properties, but I had a ton of credit card debt. Wow. And the coaching program was about $5,000 that I joined, and they wanted me to spend another $3,000 on marketing. And the way I looked at it was, I'm $60,000 in debt now. What's the difference between $60,000 and $68,000? It's not that much. I'm in debt regardless. So screw it. I'm going to jump all in with both feet. So I did. And my coach said, all right, you got to go out and buy, 300 or 400 bandit signs. And I want you to spend, $1,500 to $2,000 on a direct mail campaign. And I had nothing. I had no clue what was going to happen. And basically what happened was my phone started ringing. I didn't know the first thing about running appointments, determining comps, ARVs. But the best way to learn it is to not read that 7th or 8th book. It's to just go out on the appointment.
Totally.
Make a fool of yourself.
100%.
Offer somebody something that's just completely ridiculous because you learned from it, And I threw myself in. It took me probably, I'm going to guess here, probably about a month and a half, 2 months to do my first deal. But after I did my first deal, I did 3 more deals each week consecutive after that first deal. Because I basically made all the mistakes. I failed fast and I failed forward. So I made all the mistakes that I needed to make. I made them quick. So therefore, I was intelligent enough and I had, a coach obviously helping me, but I knew, what to do at that point. And it's just snowballed. Yep. I know we've used that word quite a bit here on this episode, but it just snowballs ever since then. And one of the things that my coach kind of embedded in my head from the get-go was, if you are in the wholesaling business, not rehab and not rentals, but the wholesaling niche, you aren't necessarily in real estate. You're in marketing. So marketing is your business. However, real estate is your product. So yes, you are a real estate investor, but you are a marketer at the end of the day, period. You're marketing for cash buyers. You're marketing for motivated sellers. And you are, I think you said it earlier, you're like a transactional
engineer. Yeah.
Engineer. That's exactly what you are. But at the end of the day, if you're not marketing for motivated sellers and or networking and marketing for cash buyers, it's impossible to be a transactional engineer.
I can almost guarantee, I won't say it, but I can almost guarantee I know who your mentor is just by the way you talk, because it's the language that you're saying stuff is like, I know who it is, but right. that's cool. And if it is the same guy, I got mentored by him too, because he's one of the very, very best. But listen, David just laid out the entire, if you're brand new and you haven't done a wholesale deal yet and you want to, he just laid out every single thing that you need to do.
Right. And I'll be honest, Brian, I own almost every book on wholesaling that's out there. I got 40 of them here in my office, and I'm going to be picking up yours as soon as it's ready to be purchased, because I love it. And well, yours is actually a little different because it's not just on wholesaling, it's the authority, but I'm still going to pick it up. But we had mentioned this earlier, all the information's out there. And I hire a coach for accountability.
Totally.
And to get close to his network, like you said, because the information that they're going to give me is no different from what I can find off a Google search or go to Amazon or a bookstore and pick up. They all tell you the same thing. But by having that coach and becoming accountable to somebody, because by definition, you cannot be accountable to yourself. It's kind of a weird thing, but by definition, you have to have a third party that you're answering to. So that's really the most important part of a coaching program. If you don't have a coach, I would highly recommend you get one. And if you're in the Birmingham, Alabama area, you need to talk to Brian. You got to talk to Brian, because by having a coach, they're not going to necessarily give you information that you can't already get for free, but they are going to hold you accountable to use that information to benefit and value, and create value for others. And that's it. It's that simple.
It's that simple. I'm a part of all these Facebook groups, and I try to unsubscribe to some of them, but every once in a while, some will come through my feed, and I'm not on Facebook a ton. Yeah. I'm mostly on it for business, but sure. I saw one today, actually. I saw one today where something came through and someone asked the question, do you need a mentor? Do you have to have a mentor when it comes to real estate? And I read everybody's comment, and I was like, there weren't really good answers on there. And the true answer to that question is, well, if you're fat and overweight, do you need a personal trainer? Do you have to have a personal trainer to lose weight?
No, you don't. But you're not going to lose as much weight as fast. It's like you said.
It's not even. It goes back to what you said earlier. It's the accountability. You don't get a personal trainer because you have to have one in order to lose weight. It's the accountability. Like, I need someone. I hired one last summer. I hired a personal trainer because I needed someone I didn't want to let anyone down. So if someone was going to be at that gym at 6 a.m., I had to be there at 6 a.m. Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's the exact same thing with real estate. Not only are you close to my network, not only are you getting all these other benefits of just hanging around me and hanging around people, high level thinkers, I'm holding you accountable. I have scorecards that I give you. Are you doing this? Are you doing this? How many of this? How many bandit signs do you hang up? How many mailers? How many sellers did you talk to? How many offers did you make?
That if you fail at something and you have, a coach or a mentor that's holding you accountable, there's nobody to blame but yourself. And that's what I like about it because, I do everything in my power to make sure that my students are successful. But at the end of the month or the quarter, whenever we do our reviews with them and they're not up to par, it's never me having to tell them. It's always them telling me how low, they or that's the wrong verbiage, but like why they're not where they want to be. It's because of something that they didn't do. And it's beautiful because it opens their eyes up to the fact that, you have to have that accountability. So me personally, I have a real estate coach. I have a personal trainer that I meet twice a week, and I have a financial and tax person that I get with once a month. So I have 3 coaches and mentors, and I would be happy to take on more if I find good ones that are out there.
Yeah.
But I do that because the cost that I pay them versus the accountability that I get from it is 10x.
It increases the bottom line overall. It's a no-brainer, really. But I'll say this, if you're not willing to meet the trainer at 6 a.m., if you're not willing to do what they ask you to do, then you are wasting your money. Because I've had students that are like that. And I think anytime you coach for a long period of time, mentor people, I've had people that quit after 1 month.
The funniest part about, for instance, my real estate coach is he's retired. He's very, very wealthy. He's been doing it for 30 years. And he doesn't need the money from the coaching. But it's one of those things where if you give something away for free, people are going to discount it to not have as much value as if you pay for it. So my coach, actually, he refunded my money after a few months, and I still pay him monthly, but my initial amount, because he liked working with me. And he didn't need the money, but he knew that if I didn't pay him that chunk of change from the get-go, that I'd be missing calls and that I wouldn't be taking his advice seriously. And it just goes to show you that something that you place value on, you're going to spend more time and energy and efforts on than if you don't have any value, which comes down to the cost,
100%.
So, but that cost is so minimal in the scheme of things. If you pay somebody 5, 10, 15 grand, some of these guys out there are charging $50,000 for coaching and mentorship, which I think is a little high. But if the individuals that are paying that are getting, an ROI on it, then it's worth it no matter what, no matter how much you pay.
Yeah, I agree. So David, great information. I want to kind of take you through the next. So say we've got someone listening who maybe they're somewhat consistent, doing 2, 3, 4 deals a month, want to really break through to that next level, really want to get to 7, 8, 10 deals a month. Sure. Is there a particular, if I've got the money,
super simple.
If I've got the money coming in, what's my first hire? What's the first hire I make?
Super simple. So what I would recommend you do is, it's not necessarily your first hire. You could look at it that way. I'm looking at it more of like a job role. Okay. But I would delegate and automate and outsource the work that you are doing that isn't bringing in the highest amount per hour. It's very simple.
And if you're wholesaling, what should it be?
So, for instance, in wholesaling, my first hire was a virtual assistant, and I hired him after probably only about maybe 4 or 5 months in the business. So it took me about 2 to get rolling, and then another 2 to get confidence built up to where I could go on any appointment at any time and talk to anybody and not be, nervous or scared, because at the end of the day, what's the worst thing that can happen? They tell you no and kick rocks, and you just move on to the next deal. But I hired a virtual assistant because I had noticed that, 60 to 70% of my time was being taken up by follow-up, which is great to build that funnel. You need that, but it's not necessarily money that you're earning every hour making those calls. So I delegated out that follow-up, and that freed up about 75% of my time to then be able to focus on building more rapport on those appointments that I would go on, being more prepared, putting together a credibility packet, and having my comps ready to go whenever I go in the appointment to show the seller, hey, it's not me versus you. That's one of the biggest misconceptions with wholesaling, is it's not you, wholesaler, versus the seller. It's you and the seller versus the market. So if you have the ability to explain to the seller, here's what the properties are going for, Here's what I need to make on a deal because I'm an investor. I'm not in this to lose money. And here's what the repairs are. Well, this is where I need to be. It's very simple. The math is second or third grade math. It's addition and subtraction. And if you can show that to the seller, you kind of disarm them in the sense that it's not like me coming in negotiating with you. It's me and you negotiating versus the market. In order for me to be able to provide you that win-win, that means I have to win and you have to win. But I also can't lose. Like I can't buy a property for more than it's worth and then, walk away with a loss on that. So
Totally.
It freed up my time to be able to go on the appointments, be more prepared, spend more of my time, efforts, energy, money on marketing to build my business. And it just freed up all that time. So my VA that I hired 2.5 years ago is still with me today. His name's Dennis. And actually he is to the point now where he does all my follow-up and he answers all inbound calls from motivated sellers, puts them in my system, and then from there, either myself or him will then delegate them out to 6 or 7 junior buyers that we call, field buyers for the most part.
Right. David, so for someone that's unfamiliar with virtual assistants, what's a kind of a typical job description? I know you just kind of laid one out, and then what would someone typically pay someone who is a virtual assistant?
So people have a big misconception with virtual assistants, but I mean, it's just an assistant that isn't in your office. So it doesn't have to be somebody overseas. It could be your Aunt Sue or your friend or a friend of a friend that lives in your city, but they basically work from home on their computer and their phone, or you provide them with a computer and a phone, and they do any and all tasks that don't involve them having to be in the flesh. So I can't have my virtual assistant pick up my dry cleaning, but I can't have him order flowers for my fiance if I make her mad at something that I said. So basically they can do all the tasks that don't involve them to be in the flesh. So my virtual assistants are actually out of the Philippines. We do have a couple local ones that work part-time for task-based duties, but the full-time, we have 3 full-time VAs at this point, and they're all in the Philippines.
And what do they do?
So they do any and all tasks that I don't want to do and or tasks that aren't necessarily high money making per hour duties. So I focus my time and efforts on networking, running appointments, and then obviously managing my people. That's basically what I do at this point. So I have a closing coordinator that manages the closings. I have a virtual assistant that does all my follow-up. I have another virtual assistant that does nothing but send offers all day long. She sends anywhere between 30 and 50 offers every single day. That's all she does. They don't overlap. My closing coordinator doesn't send offers, and my offer sender doesn't coordinate closings. They have their own little role, and they stick in their lane, and it works really, really well. So for the most part, the biggest amount of money that I can make is going out and running an appointment and getting a contract on it, and then turning that over to my team to bring it to the finish line. If I'm trying to do all those duties, which in the beginning you will, because like the first couple months, you are the marketer, you are the appointment setter, you are the appointment runner, you are the analytics person to determine the value and repairs, you are the negotiator, you are the closing coordinator, you may be dealing with the banks. You do it all, which is good that you do it all because you learn it all. But there's really no point in trying to do it all because a lot of these duties are very, very easy and they're just repetitive and they're time consuming. So kind of to go back on the part 2 of your question, what are they and where are they at? I've answered that. What do I pay them? I choose to hire VAs overseas because it's cheaper for me to pay them, but also I feel like I'm providing them with a ton of value because they are making more money working for me than they could work basically at 95% of any other occupation that they choose. Wow. So for instance, my virtual assistants, I pay $7.50, $6, and $5 an hour. Okay. Now I don't pay taxes on them because my accountant lets me file them as just a marketing expense because they're basically doing marketing for me. I pay them with PayPal. There is a small fee to send the money. I pay them weekly, but I don't have to pay taxes on that income, and they're responsible for their own taxes in their country on that income. Right. So it's not anything that I have to necessarily worry about. But you may, some people may think, $5, $6, $7.50 an hour isn't a lot of money. Well, put this into perspective. The average salary of a police officer in the Philippines is $100 a month, and I'm paying my guys $300 a week. So they're making way more money than any other occupation that they could get in that area.
Wow.
While at the same time, it's saving me probably about 70%. Because if I wanted to hire an in-person admin for my office here in St. Louis, I'd have to spend about $35,000 in salary, plus another $10,000 in taxes, and then all sorts of other benefits and healthcare. And, you're looking at spending 45, 50 grand. Whereas I may spend $15,000 per person overseas. But again, you got to think it's a win-win. It's not that I'm saving so much money, it's the fact that I'm providing them with a way better life.
It's a win-win.
Lifestyle and income that they would get over anything else. Like, I think my VA's girlfriend, or actually maybe his fiance now, is in nursing school, and I think she makes $300 a month. And he makes that a week. And nurses in the United States of America make good money. So it's all relative. The amount that they're making there in terms of percentages is the same. But it's just a lot lower.
David, when should someone make that hire? You said that you made your first VA hire after 3 or 4 months, which was maybe how many deals? Maybe 4, 5, 8, 10 deals?
Yeah. So, my first month I didn't do any. My second month I did like 3 or 4. And then ever since then, I've been consistently doing a minimum of 3 or 4 deals. But I've also been very, very consistent with my marketing. Mm-hmm. So, sometimes I'll have little deals. Like I just did one 2 days ago and I made $1,400. Yeah. But I didn't walk away from that deal because I just thought, you know what, I don't need this $1,400. I don't need any of it. I have other deals that are providing me with income and I got rentals for cash flow. So I put all 100% of that money back into marketing. So I think the key is, you have to be very, very consistent with your marketing. And if your deal flow slows down, there's only one person to blame. It's you. You're not marketing enough.
Yep.
Just do more marketing, But like I said, you're not throwing money away because that marketing isn't just like, here today, gone tomorrow. If you do it right and you record everything in a good CRM, you can capture those leads from 2.5, 3 years ago. One of my partners now has been doing probate for 7 years, and we're getting deals that he has been touching these people via letters, phone calls, emails, text messages for 7 years.
Crazy. And
they're coming back to him and saying, "Hey, you haven't left me alone since day one, but I'm not upset about it because I know who to call now and I need to sell my property." And we're getting deals done from that long ago.
That's crazy.
It's just about consistency.
Yeah. So at what point do I hire my first VA?
So I would say whenever you're financially comfortable with it, because it is an expense that you're going to have to take, and they may not be what you want them to be immediately. Like I would say that my VA, it took me every bit of 6 weeks to train him to do it exactly like I wanted it.
Yeah.
Okay. And also when you're hiring a VA, you definitely want to always separate friends versus employees, but it helps a little bit whenever you can look at your virtual assistant as a friend, because then you're not having to worry about awkward moments and stuff like that. You want to be able to have somebody that you can get along with and talk to every day. And I'm to the point now where I may talk to my virtual assistant twice a week via Slack or email, because he's so trained and implemented in his business and in his duty, I should say, that he knows what to do. And he'll call me with a question here and there, but it's like it just runs smoothly. Yeah. So I would say whenever you're comfortable enough to, spend the money that you're not going to see a return for at least 6 or 8 weeks, but you can train them to basically, you're delegating the tasks that are taking up all your time. Because really, totally. once you get to a point where you're financially free, Brian, I know you're there, I'm there, money isn't as important as time. Totally. I used to think money was the most important thing in the world, and that I would have all the utility if I had all the money. But once you have money, and not a lot, I don't have a lot of money, but I have double the income from what my expenses are, double. So, now it's like I'm not out chasing a buck every day. Now I'm chasing, whatever I want to chase. If I want to go to the gym, I'm actually going to go to the gym after this podcast before my appointment and just turn my phone off. I can do what I want when I want to have the freedom to do so.
Yep.
So, you get to that point where time becomes more valuable than money, and that's where you start scaling to the second and that third and that fourth VA, or bringing in full-time office staff.
Yes.
Nothing wrong with that, but it's going to cost you more.
Yep.
Now they may be better because if you need them to go pick up your dry cleaning, they can. But I don't mind picking up my dry cleaning, right? So I'd rather save money and then also provide that value to somebody overseas that you can actually create a better life for. And my VAs will tell anybody, they love me. They love me just because of the fact that I am providing them with the ability to not only earn a lot, but take care of their friends and family too. So it's awesome. It's a true win-win.
David Dodge, St. Louis, Missouri. Appreciate you coming on the show, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Brian. It was a pleasure, man. I'm looking forward to your book coming out.
It's awesome.
I'm super pumped about it. Do want to say one more time, guys, if you're interested in wholesaling, there's a free course out there that I provided. It's freewholesalecourse.com. It won't cost you a penny. It's about 3 hours of content. And basically what I've done is I've taken 3 years of experience in wholesaling and about 50 different books, and I put it together in an easy to follow, basically an A, B, C, D, E, F, G type of a process on how you can get from having no deals to your first deal. Or if you're doing 4 to 6 deals a month and you want to get to 10, that as well. So freewholesalecourse.com. Check it out, guys. Very, very powerful.
Freewholesalecourse.com. David, if somebody wants to reach out to you, maybe send you an email or anything, is that all that on the website, or how can people kind of
Yeah, they can reach out to me. So there is a form on the website they can fill out on there as well, or they can just email me directly. My email is david@housesoldeasy. That's our acquisition side of the company, housesoldeasy.com. And it looks like house is old easy whenever you write it out, but it's actually house sold easy. David@housesoldeasy.com.
House is old easy. That's awesome. That's very cool.
I always capitalize that house sold and easy on there so it doesn't jump out at you like that. But yeah, Definitely. That's our business, and you can reach out to me that way. And, any way that I can provide value to you, Brian, your listeners, your viewers, I'm happy to help. I'm in the point now where I like to just give back and, provide as much value as I possibly can.
That's awesome, man. And you did today, and I'm very thankful that you came on the show. Thankful that you talked to us a lot about how to build your team, when to build it, when to go get it. Very good information for people because we got a lot of people who are new, but we also got a lot of people who are kind of getting started, kind of their foot in the door, and they've maybe done 2 or 3 or 4 deals, and they want to really know, how do I get to that next point? So thank you, David, for providing that information. Again, the website is freewholesalecourse.com. Check out Mr. David Dodge. Again, thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Hey, Brian, thanks for having me, buddy. It's a great time. I'm looking forward to the next one.
Hit that subscribe button, guys. Rate us, review us. We love you. I'll see you next time.